Hi guys, welcome. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes, so 12:02 right on the dot. Hi everyone, this is Rebecca Jones, Tippy Connect Liaison. Thanks so much for sharing your lunchtime with us today. Today we finish our job search series, a four-part event designed to give you all of the information you need to brush up on not only the basics, but the intricacies of job hunting as well. The Tippy Connect Job Search Series is sponsored by MetroNet, a customer-focused company. MetroNet understands the value of supporting young professionals in their career paths and was recognized as the best place to work by Glassdoor in 2020. You can find out more about their opportunities at metronetinc.com/careers. Our speaker for the series is Crystal Quarry, a career coach with the University of Utah. Thanks so much for joining us today, Crystal. We're excited to learn about networking, which resonates well with our members. So participants, enjoy your lunch. Crystal, go ahead and take it away.
I will say it is kind of weird to present on networking to a networking young professional group, but maybe we can learn how to do it better through my presentation. Let me share my screen really quick. Alrighty, so as a lot of you know, I try to make my presentations as engaging as possible. So if you want to go ahead and pull up that chat box, that'll make things a lot easier as we go along. And as Becca mentioned, we're here to talk about networking today. We're going to talk about some definitions of networking. If you really need to network in 2020, the short answer is yes. We're going to go through some places that you can network. And at the end, we're going to wrap up and talk about how you actually network with different people. So lots of content today, but hopefully nothing too crazy. But to get things started, we're going to start with the single word sum up. I know when I first started doing all of this career coaching stuff, I had a lot of feelings about the word networking. So when you all think about what networking means to you, go ahead in the chat, put a single word that describes how you feel about networking. Nervous and shy, a very common reaction. Intimidated for sure. Awkward. Just anxiety in general for sure. Ooh, fun. We have one fun. Yes. Now that I kind of know what I'm doing, I will say I'm more on the fun side of networking as opposed to the anxiety side. Important, also a very good answer. Getting to know new people, yes. So a lot of people I think have really common reactions to a lot of what you all have mentioned as far as like being anxious or shy or intimidated or things like that. But hopefully today I can give you some strategies so that you are more on the fun side, feeling a little bit more confident and looking forward to networking with different people. To get things started, again in the chat, what I want to hear is, what is your definition of networking? What does it mean to you? What do you think it means in general? Any of those things? Talking to people to make connections, for sure. What else? Growing your knowledge of individuals in your area, I like that. Meeting new people in your field or interest, yeah, so a lot of connections, a lot of meeting new and different people in your field of interest, learning from other people's experience and career path, I love that. I do bring this up for a couple of different reasons. One, I think that part of the reason a lot of people feel so intimidated and awkward when it comes to networking is our society has put so much like really weird pressure on it to where you have to like collect the right people, and it's very like, what can you do for me, as opposed to like a back and forth thing. So to kick things off as far as the definition of networking goes, I brought up a couple definitions that I think is going to help make sure that we're approaching networking in the right way from the get-go. So from Merriam-Webster's definition, it's really an exchange of information between individuals, groups, and institutions. A book that we use in our office a lot here at the University of Utah called Designing Your Life talks about it just like asking for directions. The same way if you were in a new city and you were confused, you would ask someone for directions. You can do the same thing when it comes to networking. And for me, I call it building and maintaining informal relationships that benefit both parties equally. But I really do like Merriam-Webster's exchange of information idea, because for me, that really gets to the heart of what networking should be, as opposed to, well, what can you do for me? Something that I hear a lot from people is, do you really need to network in 2020? You apply online for everything. It's easier than ever to apply for a ton of jobs, right? So like, do we really need to know human beings if we just need to fill out an application anyway? To prove to you that you 100% need to network in 2020, I've dug up some stats that I think is really going to drive home the point. The latest estimation of how jobs are filled through networking is 80 to 85%. That's a huge percentage of the job market that's being filled through networking, 80 to 85%. LinkedIn News recently published an article saying that 35% of LinkedIn messages have led to new opportunities for those sending those messages. If you think about all the messages that are being sent on LinkedIn, that's a huge percentage as well, 35% just from a direct message. If you just use what I call the spray and pray method, where you send out as many applications as you can to as many companies as you can, your chance of getting hired is 4% if you don't know anybody at that company and have a connection there. Just 4%. And if you think about the amount of applications that you send out, 4% is not as much as you would think it is. If you do know somebody at a company that you're applying to, the odds of getting an interview and then a job offer go up to 60%. If you just know somebody at the company. That's so crazy. Networking really does have a huge, huge impact, even in the age of technology that we're living in right now. Moving on, I want to emphasize all the different places that you can network, and I'm splitting this into two different categories, in person and online. So in the chat, where are some places that you all think that you can network in person if COVID didn't exist? We'll say this is pre-COVID. Yes, TP Connect events for sure, Becca. Hint, hint. Yes, I said it. Don't worry, we're here. Where else can you network in person with people? Conferences, industry meetings, commerce events, alumni events, community events, the rail yard. Man, y'all have some really good answers. Where else? I'll give it 30 more seconds. Departmental events, nonprofit galas. Galas, I always feel weird saying that. Rise and shine, yes, all these really, really good events that you all are thinking of. So a lot of what you said, you know, conferences, networking event, TP Connect events. See, I even put it on my slide, Becca, don't worry. Any classes that you all are taking, whether that be like a first aid class or like supplemental anything. But also, I would say just like anywhere human beings are. It could be the grocery store, it could be the library. I know a woman recently that like met someone in her book club who introduced her to the CEO of this company, and now she has a brand new job that is better suited to her strengths than what she was at before. I've known people that met somebody at the dollar store who gave them an internship for the summer, right? So it really, anywhere humans can be is where networking can happen, which is, I feel like kind of intimidating because you never know who you're going to meet, but also exciting because you never know who you're going to meet, right? So being willing to talk to strangers just in any old setting is really going to be helpful for your career. So that's all the in-person networking that I want to talk about. Where can you network online with people? And put those answers in the chat. We don't know where to network online. LinkedIn, yes, perfect. Tinder could be for sure. I know that Bumble has a young professional setting where you can network with other people that way. I'm assuming Tinder does too. She meant Bumble. Sorry, we're on the same page now. Where else can you network with people virtually? Facebook, yeah, social media in general. Where else? Anywhere? Professional society pages, yeah, that's definitely true. So LinkedIn, you all mentioned webinars. What we're doing right now, you all can be networking with each other kind of in the chat, feeling each other out. Alumni pages was just mentioned. That's also a great place. We also mentioned social media and any virtual fairs or networking events as well. Any virtual conferences, because that's happening a lot these days. Anywhere humans are in a virtual setting, you can network with them there too. I know that Facebook has a lot of professional pages that you can follow. I know I've networked with some people through that way. LinkedIn, all those things. The world is so big, but also so connected these days that it's going to be really easy to find some interesting people to talk to and learn from. So I want to talk a little bit, now that we know what networking is, now that we know where we can network, which the short answer is everywhere, I want to talk a little bit about how you network. And to kick things off, we're going to talk a little bit about elevator pitches. This, I would say, is handy in a lot of different situations. You can use this in an interview for the tell me about yourself question. I know we talked about that when we talked about interviewing. You can use this if you meet somebody at a conference and just really quick need to introduce yourself. They're like, oh, what's your story? Where are you at, right? It can be used in a lot of different situations. So I have a 3-part formula, past, present, future, that's going to help you introduce yourself in a quick but succinct and detailed way. So the first part, past, is not like your entire work history or your entire life story. That's too much. You can't do that in 60 to 90 seconds, right? What I mean by past is kind of like your aha moment. So what got you kind of started into the path that you're on? If it was an experience, if it was a class, if it was, just a lifelong interest, whatever, share that with them, because that helps them understand a little bit more your motivations and gives a little bit more context. So then from past, because of this experience, you are now moving into the present, and you touch a little bit on what you're doing right now. Again, this is usually like a really quick 60 to 90 second, maybe not even verbal conversation with somebody. So you can just say, because of X experience, I've done X, Y, Z, and I'm now working at the future. Moving forward, I really want to gain experience in ABC, or I really want to focus more on this or this. So I can see Lindsay though, so I can go down here and look at where she is and what she's done and send her a very similar message to what I sent to Emily. Eek, gotta reorganize my screen now. There we go. Sweet. So I hope that helped you all realize like the power that LinkedIn really can have and how easy it's going to be to find people. If you have questions about any careers, or even if you are stuck in your career and you know some cool people that are in the world that could give you advice on how to make better goals, for example, then LinkedIn can really help open the doors for you to talk to some really cool people. So I've kind of hinted at informational interviews, but I really think this is one of the best ways to network because you're not asking for an opportunity, you're just looking for some information. So it's more of a neutral ground, I would say, for you to approach somebody on. So the steps for an informational interview are, first you identify a human. It could have been someone that you met in person. It could have been someone that you met virtually. Could have been someone that you found on LinkedIn or someone that you want to find on LinkedIn. However you do that, you have to first identify a person that you want to learn from. The second step is to send them a custom message. So you can use the elevator pitch format, you can use the Inigo Montoya method, whatever works best for your situation, how you're communicating with them. But you send them this custom message to ask for that informational interview. The third step is to create your list of questions. I would recommend 5 to 10 questions for the informational interview because that way you do have a structure that you can follow and get things kicked off with, but it's not so many questions that it kind of takes up the whole informational interview and the conversation isn't loose enough that it can go kind of where it needs to go. Step 4 is you conduct the interview. It could be phone, it could be over Zoom. I doubt it would be in person in this day and age, but when we get to that point, hopefully you can grab coffee with somebody and talk to them that way. And then afterwards, send them a thank you note. It's really important in networking to express gratitude whenever you can because nobody has to be giving you this time. No one has to answer these questions for you, right? So it's really nice to send them a quick email or a quick message on LinkedIn if that's how you communicate with them to say, hey, I learned a lot about this topic and I really appreciate the time that you gave me. If there's anything I can ever do for you, please let me know. Because again, networking is that two-way street, that exchange of information. Some final networking tips. Like I said, it's an exchange of information. I think it's a big networking mistake to go after somebody and be like, hey, I need an internship, or hey, I need a job, right? Because that's really forward. They don't know you. Talk to them just about some information. I'm really interested in maybe working for St. Jude in the future. Can you tell me about what it's like to work there in the culture, right? So you can get some information before you even pursue that train of thought a little further. Following up is a really important step that I think is overlooked in networking. So again, if you meet somebody at a conference, at a virtual event, at a Tippy Connect event, and you had a really good conversation and you get their contact info, shoot them an email the next day. I really enjoyed talking to you yesterday. I hope that we can continue to talk more about whatever it was that you discussed moving forward. You can add them on LinkedIn immediately and send them that message, or just an email, whatever works best for you. True networking is about a relationship, so staying in touch is really, really important. I've been at the University of Utah for about a year now, but I'm still setting up meetings with my past supervisors to just catch up about my first year, see how things are going with them, so that if they need anything from me or if I need anything from them moving forward, it's not nearly as awkward to be like, hey, I haven't talked to you in 3 years, but can I get your advice on this thing, right? You still have an idea of what's going on in each other's lives. One of the biggest things I hear about networking is I'm too shy or I'm an introvert, so this is really hard for me. And it is definitely different for introverts and people that consider themselves shy. But what I will say is using the informational interviews, finding people online to talk to first, preparing your questions ahead of time, all of this can make even introverts and shy people feel a lot more confident going in because there's a lot of preparation that you can do. I understand going to networking events can be really stressful because you don't know who's there and you have to think on your feet and all these things, but there are other ways of networking that can help you, expand your network beyond even your wildest dreams and learn all sorts of really amazing things. So everyone can do it well, and everyone can learn some amazing things that can change their career. So be open. So now that we've talked about what networking is, where you can network, how you can network, all these things. What's one word that comes to mind now when you think of networking? And go ahead and drop your answers in the chat. There's options. It's still fun. We didn't change that opinion, which is totally fine because I think it's fun too. Connections. Need to expand the types of networking that this person has tried, for sure. Anything else? Any other thoughts, feelings about networking? Useful at any point, yes. And one thing that I forgot to mention as I'm like going over the presentation in my head, I know the past, present, future for the elevator pitches, I know it, like the words that I say make sense and you understand how to do it, but I would practice it as much as possible because the transitions between those steps can be kind of clunky and awkward the first few times. Say it to your friends, your mom, your cat, you know, whoever, but get used to saying it so that whenever you're in these networking situations at the grocery store or a conference or a Tippy Connect event, you can really quickly pull it out of your back pocket and feel confident in saying that. Any other questions?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Crystal, for giving us some really empowering advice and tools to network more efficiently. I know I always feel more empowered and kind of set on the focus of the room when I do have my elevator pitch down, and it does take a couple of times. As I've said before, I am the most awkward human being. So having that down about what I want to say about myself to get that across to other people gives me confidence after it's said to be able to understand what they're saying to me as well instead of focusing on what I left out. So
It's definitely a good way to open up that conversation. One thing else I'll say is if any of you want to practice any of these skills, you know, adding people on LinkedIn and sending a custom message or these or informational interviews, if you want to practice with me, I'm 100% down for that. You see my contact information here. So low risk, very high reward to practice these skills before you go off into the rest of the world and start meeting really amazing people.
Thank you for that. So this was our final part to the job search series with Crystal Quarry. You can find all of our webinars and all of the series on our website under each of the events. You'll also get a follow-up email with links to those as well. Just a few reminders that top 10 under 40 nominations are still open for 5 more days, and applications are open through July. You can self-apply if you are or know a young professional living or working in the Greater Lafayette area deserving of that award. Don't hesitate because applications close July 31st. Our next Tippy Connect event is July 28th. That is Building Your Strengths with Steve Bush, and that will be a in-person and virtual event. So make sure to register for that. It will also be in your follow-up email.
Do you mean June 28th?
July 28th.
Okay, just want to make sure.
We'll have other little events coming in from that. During those months or during those weeks. So we will have some family events, and we're still partnering with Business Innovations. So make sure that if you're not currently a Tippy Connect member, membership goes down to $15 on July 1st, or you can sign up for our monthly email as a non-Tippy Connect member, and that does highlight all of the free events that we have going on, open to the public. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for sharing your time. Crystal, thank you for all of the amazing information that you've shared over the last 4 weeks. Everyone can have a great day.